G'day lads, Cobber here. Welcome back to another episode on the channel. I'm excited to bring you this episode. I'm also a little bit nervous. Today I'm going to be breaking down the top 3 players in each position. And I know people love their FIFA. I know there's going to be a bunch of debate in the comments, and I'm sure people are going to be sending me squads on Twitter and Instagram, which I love to see, because I do love your take on who you think's the best player in each position. We're going to outlay some rules off the get-go. 4-4-2 formation. I'm going to bring up 3 squads. In the first squad, the players must be under 10,000. Each player can't go over 10,000 on Xbox. Second squad, players between 10,000 coins and 100,000 coins. And then the last squad, players must be underneath 1,000,000 coins altogether. So a couple of rules just to keep things in order. And lastly, if any of the players' SBCs have expired, then you can't use them in your squads either. So I know a few of you would love to bring in your Kents and your Coronas and all these sorts of players that really fit the meta, but just a few housekeeping rules in case someone wants to go and build your team. So without further ado, we're going to kick things off to begin with our 10k team. You can see there's a few players in the squad that's sitting on the bench here that didn't quite make the cut. So, I mean, have a scan there. I'm sure a few of you probably looking at players like Lucas that you thought might have made it. Maybe Perisic with his 5-star weak foot. Gnabry and Pepe have been some big-time players when it comes to the right mid, but they don't quite make the team in this particular instance. And then lastly, Hernandez, a pretty good shout at centre-back, but didn't quite make my final side. So, when it comes to the starting 11 on the 10k team, the first player that we're going to have up front is one for your Man United fans, Marcus Rashford. What I really like about Rashford is his 5-star skill moves, and he seems to just finish those opportunities that a few of the other strikers wouldn't. So Rashford gets the nod up top, and then to partner Rashford up top is actually going to be a 5-star weak foot player that I don't think I see enough of, to be honest. I think far more people need to get this man into their team because he is extremely clinical, and for the price point that he's at, do yourself a favour and go and pick yourself up Ben Yedder and give him a try if you haven't already. Now at right wing, no secrets there. Ousmane Dembele is an extremely popular player due to his pace and 5-star weak foot, and he gets the nod pretty easily. And then to finish off and give him a nice little strong link, Arturo Vidal, the highest statted player when it comes to a regular gold card. And then beside him, a little bit contentious here because I was tossing and turning between whether I bring in Sissoko or I have Nainggolan in there because they do offer a little bit of a difference. I think Nainggolan is slightly stronger when it comes to tackling, also has a little bit better composure, but Sissoko just really does work that center of the park, and it's kind of a broken mechanic when it comes to that like left trigger, right trigger jockeying, the auto defending. I think they need to really have a serious look at that. Again, over on the left-hand side, out of experience between playing with Anderson and playing with Perisic, I found Anderson offered just a little bit more. He kind of gets beyond that last defender. But if you're happy to play some players off chemistry, then maybe you want to try one of the right mids over on that left-hand side. But for me, Anderson's the strongest player that I've used at left mid under 10k this year thus far. And then looking into our back line, this man's been rock solid at left back for a really long time. He also gets a nice little soft link into Anderson. Obviously, we're not going for chemistry here. We're not trying to get every player on 10 chem or whatever. This is just the strongest player in each position. So we continue to roll on. The next player in at centre back is Joe Gomez. I'm sure you've probably had 1 or 2 games with Joe Gomez in your side thus far this year. Very rock solid centre back. Get a shadow on him, and he's a mountain. And then partnering him is the Brazilian Eder Militao, who is also very good. This keeper is broken. Hopefully I've spelt that correctly, Areola. And he gets a perfect link, or a strong link into Militao. And then lastly, at right back is a Nelson Schmeichel. And again, a nice little link in at right back, a soft link into Militao. So that is my first set of 11. The strongest 11 that you can get under 10,000 coins for each player. A couple of players just missed out being close on the cusp of the price point, but not quite there. Moving on to the next formation. the 4-4-2. And please comment away if you don't agree with any of those players. Moving on to the next set of cards. This is the 4-4-2 between 10,000 coins and 100,000 coins. And remember, we can't use any of those expired SBCs if you're wanting to put them in. So honorable mentions when it comes to players that just didn't quite make it in. Allen, very good card. Very, very good card. Romagnoli's Halloween, a fantastic addition. Acuna, left back, gets a really good link into Bartaglia, that SBC who's over 100k. Mertens, Fabinho's nominee card, I think underlooked by many. Fabinho is a handful and very cheap. Laporte, another one who's a handful, just lacks that yard of pace, put a shadow on him. Firmino, I think, is underlooked by many. This Dybala nominee card under 100k. That man can definitely finish. Jordi Alba and Insigne. And lastly, we'll talk about that Kappa card in a second because he actually makes a little interesting bit of chemistry if you were to include him in the starting 11. So starting up top, you cannot go past this man this year. Antoine Griezmann is, I think, one of the best, if not the best value for money card in the game at 50k. Partnering up top is a genuine clinical finisher. Sometimes lacks a little bit of that turning mechanic in the box, even though he has 88 dribbling. As the game progresses, usually around the 70th minute mark, I do often take him off and bring in another player that just has that sharp turn. Like I would happily drop in Mertens in there in the 70th just to try to really turn those tired defenders. Out on the left-hand side, I'd probably say the weakest player in this starting 11, if I'm honest. And that player is Leroy Sané. In fact, if I was to make this team again going for chemistry, I probably may even look at a 4-3-1-2 and look for more central players because there's a lot of really strong central players. But Sané does have that unbelievable pace. And when it comes to a central player who I think's really overlooked this year, Marco Reus. Well, a fantastic card. Obviously gets a little soft link in there to Sané. But yeah, Marco Reus, you just don't see enough of him. I know his stamina's a little bit weak, but what a card. In the centre midfield here, you can pick up Frankie's card for 11k. So he just missed out by 1,000 coins in making the last team. But on that note, if we can pick him up for 11, we might as well take his nominee card at 70 grand. And that'll be a nice addition there in the centre of the park. And we could get the little link there if we wanted to. But we'll leave it as it is for now. Out on the right mid, Gareth Bale. Again, because he's not in the media and much this, he's fallen out of favoritism with the Real Madrid fans. You don't hear a lot about Gareth Bale at the moment. And look at the price difference there between the two cards just for a bit of blue. People go crazy for the coloured card. So Gareth Bale comes in at right mid. What I like about Gareth Bale is his ability to defend. He has that ability to just win the ball back. Anything in the air that's throwing Gareth Bale's way, just like Cristiano Ronaldo, he wins the header. It could be Gareth Bale versus pretty much anyone bar Van Dijk. Bale's winning that header. So Bale gets the nod at right mid. There were some other cards that were coming pretty close to there, particularly your cards like Sterling and so on. But Bale did just slide in there due to the fact that we're playing a 4-4-2. Cancelo is my right back. Cancelo goes in at right back. I've used a lot of Kyle Walker this year, and Kyle Walker's definitely been rock solid for me. But Cancelo, I think, just edges out Kyle Walker, to be honest. Slightly better. I can't even say any more about this gentleman here. The Frenchman is a thorn in my side regularly in the weekend league. And to join him at centre-back, don't be fooled by his 72 pace, because Ramos has been and continues to be a pain in the neck for many. It seems like he's got a bit of a force field that just surrounds him and allows him to make save and block after save and block. It's like he's just got some sort of extender go-go gadget legs. And talking of go-go gadget legs, Ter Stegen, just saved everything with his feet. The ball could be sailing top corner and Ter Stegen's breaking his legs to try and save it with his feet. And then lastly, at left back, if you've watched any of my recent videos, you'll know just how much I appreciate Mendy, and we'll get Mendy in there, and we'll keep it blue. And that is my second side in the 4-4-2, with each player being under 100k. So we move on to the big boys now. And again, I'll give you a quick snapshot of the people that didn't quite make the side. A really big honourable mention to Heung-min Son, who falls under 200k is the most popular player, I'll add, on Footbin when it comes to players that are over 100,000 but under a million. And he just didn't quite make it in, and I'll explain why when it comes to that in a second. Oh, I did say that I was going to briefly mention Kappa, because if you slot Kappa in here, this team actually gets up to 72 chemistry. And I think if you move that as well, actually no, move him and him, I can get this team to 90 chemistry altogether. Get the 90 chemistry, get the right manager in there, and you can almost have 100 chem side with that middle team there. So something to keep in mind if you've got around 500k and you want to build yourself a solid team and get it pretty much close to 100 chem. If you had loyalty on all these players, done and dusted, 100 chem right there. And in fact, if with maybe a La Liga manager, or I'm sure you can work that around. So something to keep in mind. Anyway, back to the final team. As I said, Humanson didn't make the cut, and I took him out because I have played an extensive amount of game time last year with Del Piero. I haven't played as much with him this year, but when it came to Del Piero last year, I actually preferred him over my Prime R9. And you're probably thinking, well, I'm just going to click off this video now, because if you prefer Del Piero over Prime R9, I couldn't care less about your opinion. But honestly, I don't know, I just fell in love with using this card, and he seemed to always clutch up when I needed someone to clutch up. I played Del P as a cam and not a striker. When it came to being a striker, I did prefer R9, so I'll make that very clear. In the final third, when you need the man, obviously R9's the way to go. But Del Piero he was fantastic for me last year. I had his prime card, not his 90 rated. But I do probably think if it comes down to it, I had that chance. If it was for the money, in Foot Champs or whatever, I'd take Del Piero just over Humanson. But Son's fantastic, so keep that in mind. Partnering Del Piero at striker is Kylian, and Mbappe's she's got the pace, the power. You can pick up his left wing under $1 million, but we're gonna go for the striker because I do want to keep a strong link to him over at left wing, and that is Neymar. Neymar, again, a player that you should see all the time. Like if you have 600,000 coins in your club right now available to you and you don't have Neymar, get Neymar. Like it's just as simple as that. Neymar is a must-have player. It's a player you should aspire to get. If you think, who should I save for? There is no questions to me. It's either Neymar or Van Dijk. These two players, he's endgame. He's as a left mid, there's no other player that you should be trying to get other than Neymar. And again, Van Dijk is another player that it should be someone you are striving to obtain, whether it's the 475k version or we can go all the way up to close to $1 million. Because of the rules of this SBC, they're two players that are just must-haves for your team. Now, luckily, because we have up to $1 million, both of these guys fit just under the $1 million price point, which is pretty nice to get that. Oh, he was under $1 million. When I made this team 10 minutes ago, he was under $1 million. So it's going to count for me. Trent can come in, and then Robertson on the left-hand side. And hopefully he's still under $1 million. Yeah, he's plenty under $1 million. But both of these guys are under $1 million before, so I'm not a Liverpool fan whatsoever either. I'm an Arsenal fan. In fact, I almost cringed to get Sissoko into the starting 11 before when I wanted Nainggolan in there. And Lucas maybe could almost get the nod as well, but I have preferred Rashford just over Lucas slightly. But nonetheless, I digress. Back to this final 11. Getting close to finishing it off. Ter Stegen got the nod in keeper in our middle tier team. And I really, when it comes down to whether you want Van der Sar in goals or Ter Stegen, there's not a lot of here nor there. I think Van der Sar probably needs the chem style to boost up that speed. Speed's a really big thing on keepers. Van der Sar makes those bigger wrist saves when the ball's going top corner. He seems to just have that strong hand that doesn't allow it to go. And if you hold in Y or triangle on PlayStation, he rushes really well. He rushes big, he gets down low, but Ter Stegen makes those quick feet saves. So I don't know, I'm on the fence really whether I prefer Van der Sar or Ter Stegen. But yeah, Van der Sar is going to slot in here, and then to accompany him at centre back, and I'm sure many of you will have all sorts of different theories as to who you prefer, whether it's Coman or whether it's a Brazilian centre back or whomever. But I'm actually going to go for Rio. Rio Ferdinand Rio Ferdinand's been a very solid option for a long time when it comes to centre backs, and I do like Rio there. Getting down to the end of things, to the thick of things, in the centre of the park and centre of midfield, you cannot go past N'Golo Kante. Kante is a clean-up merchant. He's everywhere. He goes. He's like the Energizer Bunny. So Kante is going to slot in here, and thankfully we actually can go and get his 825k version. In at right mid, I'm very happy to see that this man is extremely playable this year. I felt like in the past you couldn't really get around using him as well as you can now. That left foot, if you can get a left foot finesse shot from anywhere within reason, Messi slots them into top corner. He's sharp. They've almost designed the game mechanic around him. And yeah, if you haven't had the chance to use Messi, go and do a couple of drafts or I don't know, do whatever you can to get the coins in your team to get Messi in, because he's great fun. And then this last position is extremely contentious because I have Petit on the bench, I've got De Bruyne on the bench, and if you're actually looking to play a 4-4-2, you wouldn't want this confectionery player, this player that's there for more so the fun of things, to score goals. You're probably going to be lacking that box-to-box ability, but when it comes to just fitting in the best player in this position, and you can't really go past the 88 rated Ben Yedder that's on offer right now. But I say that without actually trying him myself, but I just know how much I've enjoyed Ben Yedder this year. But if you disagree with that, feel free to go and slot Petit in there, slot De Bruyne in there, slot even Firmino is a very good option, and Bartaglia as well. So there's plenty of people on offer to pick. And I think my first port of call would probably be De Bruyne. That 84 De Bruyne has a lethal long shot on him. And we'll move that over there just for chemistry. But, plenty of options to be had. It's kind of up to you and how you like to play the game and what your favourite formation is as well. But that's my 3 squads. It was a lot of tinkering, and I've put it out there to you guys. Feel free to comment back in any way, shape, or form, whether it's on the YouTube comments or on social medias. Keep it friendly, guys. I'm sure there's plenty of passionate fans out there. But that's all, guys. Feel free to subscribe to the channel, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye.